Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Soul Focused Radio. This is your host, Martin Friedman.
And I'm your host, Martina Tam. I'm super excited to bring today's episode to you all. We talk about everything from roller coasters to childbirth to ghosts and to how good we can stand life, all in relation to self-accountability with our good friend and our CEO, Mahdi.
Yes, we do. All that and more, Martina, right? That was fun. Yeah, we just, to let you all in on it, we're doing the intro after we did the segment. So, Martina, I would say let's just, let's let people just get into it and enjoy the conversation as much as you and I did.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So as you get ready to listen, don't forget, hit like, subscribe, whatever platform you're on, especially YouTube. Hit like, hit subscribe. Please continue to help us grow. We are growing, and you are a huge part of that. So with that being said, Martina, let's go. Let's listen to that segment. Let's go.
All right, let's do this.
Creating is the new way of fighting. At the Soul Focus Group, we're doing something radical, people. Instead of fighting against racism, sexism, and classism, which are all designed to keep us apart, we are bringing people back together again. Want to know how? By creating human solidarity. In doing so, we're improving productivity, increasing effectiveness, and transforming the way people communicate. Essentially, we're healing broken relationships. Let us bring our Creating Human Solidarity 2-day workshop to your business or organization. Sign up for this 2-day in-person workshop at thesoulfocusgroup.com, because it's time we come together.
All right, everybody. Well, I'm so excited as always. And Martina, I bet you're excited too, because we both love talking to this next guest. And our guest is Mahdi Davenport, also known as M, who is our CEO at the Soul Focus Group. How you doing, Mahdi?
I'm actually doing great. Just got back from Disney World. And I nice. Kind of lost my voice from screaming and yelling on those roller coasters with my daughters. So I'm feeling good.
Beautiful. Sounds like you had a good time then.
I had a great time. I almost lost my voice. I was.
You went fully into it, huh? Yes, you didn't hold yourself back at all.
I leaned into it like I was 5 years old.
Yeah, Mahdi, often it doesn't work out well if you try to take on Disney World as a full adult,
No, it doesn't. I think it's set up to bring out the inner child in you so that you could, recapture some of that fun you missed when you were younger.
I was just going to say there's very few opportunities as an adult to just scream with no reserve. And Disney World is one of those places. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. I actually that was a part of my strategy. My strategy was some things that I may have been holding back subconsciously that I didn't know about. I was going to scream it out of myself on those roller coasters, to release a lot of, held back and pent up energy. And it worked. It was very liberating. It's kind of strange to hear myself say it, but it was liberating being scared to death.
It's beautiful.
One of the things that it did for me was that it woke me up back to how much out of control we really are. How much, we have very little control of anything in our lives. And when we realize that and we just lean into the reality that life is designed in a way where we have to depend on others and we don't have control like we think we do. It's just an illusion. You can really start enjoying life, really start having fun.
Mahdi, this is a little bit of a tangent, but the last time I screamed so much I lost my voice was when I was giving birth.
I bet. Wow.
It's not quite like Disney World, but it makes me think of it a little bit because it was really liberating. Like I felt socially like you're allowed to scream in labor. And I went all out. And it just felt like that similar freedom and that similar, like you're talking about, like I had no control over the process. So it was just like giving in and being able to like really vocalize the fear, which for me was really liberating. but I definitely lost my voice the next day. Like I couldn't talk.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you, and you have every right to scream. You know, because they say, this is what they say. You know, of course, I've never given birth, but the idea is that you put one foot in death and one foot in life to give birth to children.
I like that.
You know, so people don't realize the price that mothers pay to get you here.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. It really is. You know, I feel like you talk about control, and I think, Martina, your example also is really in that moment, you really aren't in control of your body in that moment of giving birth. And Mahdi, you talk about, you know, how much we have to give over. I really have to trust other people,
Yes.
right? I think about that a lot, but like when you're riding a ride in Disney World, you have to trust the inspectors, the operators, you have to trust,
Yes.
right? Because you're literally putting yourself at risk. And so I really want to, you know, bring this conversation to our topic this week, which is self accountability. And obviously, you know, we want the people, you know, we want our pilots, our amusement park operators, our birthing, you know, people, birthing doctors or midwives. We want all of them to be very accountable to us, right? We're expecting that accountability. And, you know, in that moment, we're letting go of control. So, Mahdi, like, how do you see the concept of self accountability coming in? We're in a position we have to rely on other people being accountable to us all the time. But how do you see the concept of self accountability coming into our lives?
Well, you know, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about how would it be to approach this conversation, talk for myself from a place of, let's say I didn't know anything about what self accountability is. I have no clue. Right. So, but I want to try to understand it. So I would look for natural clues in nature for me to understand what it means to hold myself accountable. And the first thing that popped up in my mind is to thy own self be true. The idea that there is a blueprint within ourselves. We call it soul at the Soul Focus Group, the original blueprint. And seeking to live as close as we can to that original blueprint would be self-accountability, right? So I know something inside of me won't let me be happy or fulfilled unless I'm in alignment with myself. So that loans me to a concept of self-accountability. I'm accountable, which means I have to give account to the abilities and talents and resources I have within myself to be fully maximized. That's a contract I believe we all enter into before we come into this dimension. No one comes into this dimension without entering into that contract. For that reason, we have cosmic law that says, know thyself, to thy own self be true, know your impact, and also know that you can only be equal to you. So when you think about those cosmic laws, they exist out of a natural order of self-accountability.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm going to go somewhere I usually don't go on these podcasts, Martina and Mahdi. And I want to say, well, you know, I'm thinking about all the people that would be like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you mean contract before we get here? Right. Like, and I usually don't like sort of play that person, but I want to play that person for a minute because I know for a fact there's people listening to us right now that, you know, might call themselves atheists or, I don't know, realists or, you know, just seeing really just this life as the only thing. And
right.
There was nothing before and there'll be nothing after. So how do you say that with such certainty? How, if I was one of those people, what would you say to me if I asked you, how do you know that? How do you say that with such certainty?
Well, the first thing I would ask you is, do you believe in well-being? Is there such a thing as well-being? And if you say, yes, I believe in well-being, well, being, what is that about? You know, it's a sort of like a two-pronged word because it means the act of living, but it also means that you are a being. So your being as well, and your being is non-physical, which means it's spiritual, which also means it has no birth date. So it existed prior to coming here, and it will exist prior to you leaving here. That this is a journey we're on, that we are as beings in human form having a human experience is temporary, but who we really are is eternal. Now, I know that we haven't been taught that in school, because if you really lean into that and you really get in touch with that, you also gain access to your supernatural power. All of us have supernatural power, but we haven't been taught how to tap into it because, I mean, the model of the world that we've been living has been seeking to limit our expression, not give us full access to it. Did that answer your question, Martin?
Yeah, it definitely answered the question for me too. And I have a couple people I'm very close to that I know would just start a whole argument about it. I'm not doing that. Trust me. Actually, where my mind goes, Martina, I'm just, I'm wondering, like, how does that impact you and sit with you in terms of being a medical professional, a healthcare professional, in the world that you walk in? Where do you come out on what Mahdi's saying right now?
Yeah. Something you said, the phrase that really stuck with me, Mahdi, is that who we are is eternal, and that we have a supernatural power that we haven't tapped into. And like you said, the world is trying to prevent us from tapping into that. And I think for people who may not believe in a God in sort of the typical sense, I think that it's hard to say that there have not been sort of supernatural moments that are unexplainable, that we've all experienced, even the most quote unquote scientific of people. And I think about sort of the experiences that I've had that medical science can't explain, that to me have been proof that there is something supernatural. There is something that is beyond what we calculate and what we can diagnose with our machines and what we can understand. Like, I think about specifically the example that came to my mind was a patient I was caring for when I was in medical school, and she was really sick. She was waiting for a liver transplant, and we were keeping her alive in pretty inhumane ways, and she was really suffering. And so all day she was just like just repeating, like, please help me, please help me. Plus all she said all day. And it was really painful to see and watch. And then she was denied a liver transplant. And then her family came to the bedside, and sort of her family accepted that this was going to be the end of her physical life. And, we told her, I don't know how much we could say she was understanding of the moment of the words coming out of our mouth. But when her family kind of came to peace and we stopped all these horrible things we were doing to her to keep her alive, she changed the phrase she was repeating to, I'm on cloud nine. So she just kept on repeating, I'm on cloud nine. I'm on cloud nine. After sort of there was this shift in energy of what we were doing for her. And to me, that's like a really profound experience that sticks with me, of how there's something beyond the physical. Like you were saying, there's the supernatural in us.
Well, that's powerful. It's a powerful story, because that's exactly where I was going, because energy is supernatural. And when we learn in basic science, they tell us that energy is neither created nor destroyed. Now, if that's not supernatural, nothing is. So if energy is neither created nor destroyed, and we are energy, then we are eternal, because energy is eternal.
Yeah.
Right. And so we are 100% energy. We call it soul, spirit, will live on, it just what's the word? Transcend, or what's the word we use? Energy it's not created or destroyed. It's only transferred. I think transferred.
Right. Yeah. Transferred. That's what we say.
Right. So that within itself is a phenomenon. So the other thing is that energy is everywhere. Everything is energy. Energy is everywhere. So you don't have to believe in God as in the way it's written in religion. But when you say energy is everywhere and we say God is everywhere, we're still talking about the same thing, just using a different language. Some people get hooked up on the language part, but the reality part is what we need to tune into. Energy is everywhere. We have access to it, and we could do supernatural things when we are in alignment with our own energy.
Right.
that energy allotted for us to be the expression, the natural expression that we represent in this world at this present time.
Mm. And I actually have to backtrack what I said, because like what you just said, that is actually science. That energy
Right.
is neither created nor destroyed. And so it is scientific.
Right. And then when we talk about self-accountability, you're looking at the idea that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, which is science too.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
You know, self-accountability is a part of that. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, for everything we put out there, there's something that is going to manifest and create that we're going to be responsible for. Mm-hmm. So to hold yourself accountable to what you're putting out there is extremely important for you to be able to benefit off of the seeds you're planting in the universe that you want to be able to harvest later. Because everything you do and say is producing something. Everything comes out of your mouth is producing something. Every thought you think on a repeated basis in your subconscious or conscious mind is manifesting something. And most of us are not aware of that. We think that the life we're in is a pre-made thing, and we have no choice or no decision in this. And that's not true. We are still creating our lives even as we speak. Until the moment you die, you're still creating your life.
Wow.
So imagine how powerful it is if you take hold to it, if you hold yourself accountable to the potentiality of life. People say all the time, or ask people, tell us how is the world as it is? The world as it is, we usually say negative stuff. The world is all messed up. It's this and this. And I said, well, that's not how kids see the world when they first come into the world. The world occurs to children as a realm of endless possibilities, right? Because that's the truth. The world is full of endless possibilities. But the thing that we forget is that those endless possibilities have to be created. And then when we get in alignment, some supernatural things happen, means things speed up for things to happen. That's all supernatural means. Because when you say supernatural, you got natural is in the word, right? And super means over and above. So there's something natural happening, but something over and above the normal natural takes place that we don't understand. But that's relative, because depending on what our understanding of nature will determine what is supernatural to us and what isn't. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. And I think one of the differentiations in this, again, I'm always trying to think about like linear thinking, right? Like, this, you're dead or you're alive, you're an infinite being or you're not, right? When you're alive is the only time that you exist, when you're alive in these bodies. And so even when we talk about accountability, I think a lot of people, especially as a linear thinker, we would have the tendency to think about that's accountability to these current human forms. It's accountability to our bodies, our minds in these human forms. And what I hear you saying, Mahdi, is you're really equating self with soul.
Yeah.
Right? Self is not body. Self is soul. Self is the eternal.
Right. And when we are accountable, in other words, we're going to be held accountable. We are being held accountable every day to the full potentiality of who we are. So there's so much more to who we are that we haven't even begun to tap into, because we have been living in our ego mind for so long, and that we've taken on the role of being what we think people want us to be, that we are missing out on being who we really are and how powerful we really are. In other words, all our lives we've been swimming upstream, and we have not discovered the beauty of swimming with the current. If we swam with the current in terms of with the flow instead of against the current, we would really get a chance to experience how beautiful life can be. But we've been taught to believe that life is supposed to be hard. So that story, then we hold ourselves accountable to making it hard. We literally work to make life hard. But if our programming was life is supposed to be easy, we'd be working to make life easy. So when something supernatural happens, it happens effortlessly. That's what make us say, man, this is something supernatural, because I didn't do anything. It just occurred out of the blue. But you did do something. You're just not conscious of what you did. You got in alignment. You got in alignment with your natural self. And every time we get in alignment with our natural self, something supernatural happens. Something above and beyond the normal natural takes place in our sphere. Something we produce comes faster than it normally would come. something phenomena happens that we didn't expect. All that happens when we get in alignment with ourselves. We hold ourselves accountable to our full potential.
Like a natural rhythm and a flow. So
Yes.
self-accountability, you're being accountable to self when things flow, when there's a rhythm. If life is choppy, if life is challenging, if things aren't flowing to you easy, if you're not feeling intuitive or connected or in tune or aligned, then that probably means you're not being accountable to yourself, to your true and authentic self.
I would say yes. The minute you start finding something wrong or thinking something is missing, you're outside of accountability. You're not holding yourself accountable to the beauty of who you are and to the perfection of who you are. Because when there's nothing wrong with soul. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing missing from you. There's nothing wrong with you. And we spend most of our life trying to fix ourselves or find what we think is missing. And that literally distracts us the bulk of our life. Until we get older, we wake up to the reality that all this time I was fine. All this time there was nothing wrong with me. And you missed out on appreciating who you are because of you didn't hold yourself accountable to what you knew to be true within yourself. We know that we are divine beings. You could deny it because you're in your ego, but there's a knowing that's beyond ego that you are a divine being. The whole conversation about soul is about us acknowledging that we are divine beings, eternal divine beings. We wouldn't even have a concept such as soul if we didn't want to keep that there to remind ourselves who we really are.
Right.
Yeah. Something you said, Mahdi, that showed me kind of how I've been socialized when you talked about how possibilities have to be created. In my mind, just like what you were saying, I think about possibilities is like, that's a lot of work. Like you have to work hard with these possibilities, right? Like that's how I've been socialized. Is the harder you work, the more possibilities you get, which goes against exactly what you're saying is when we're with the flow and we're not going upstream is when the most true possibilities happen. And yet my first instinct, and I imagine a lot of people, is that we have been taught possibilities come from hard work,
right?
From struggle.
You know, that's so beautiful the way you say that. You know, if we pay close attention to life, we notice something. The people who get paid the most money are playing. They're playing. They're having fun. They're playing sports, tennis, basketball, football, or they're acting. They're playing because that's what actors are doing, and actresses, they're playing. They're playing somebody else. So the most, the people who get paid the most, just unconsciously, intrinsically, are people who are playing. So what does that mean? That means to me that we are here to have fun. And the closer you get to having fun, the more in flow you get. So the more you're holding yourself accountable to all that you are. Every night, let you think about this, when you lie down to go to sleep, your spirit form, which is you in spirit form, leaves your body and goes and does all the work for you that you're trying to get done. And when you wake up in the morning, the reality is the work is already done. All that is required of you is to get in alignment with your full self. We experience that as deja vu. Deja vu is when we find ourselves coming into contact with where our spirit has already been and already got the work done. So it's there to let us know you're on the right path. But oftentimes we don't stay on the right path long enough because our doubt, something is missing, something is wrong, gets us off cue with ourselves. In other words, we're not holding ourselves accountable to where our intuitiveness is telling us where to go, because that's our spirit relaying back to us in this time continuum where our spirit is so that we can be there also.
What I'm hearing, Mahdi, is that part of self-accountability is also having a good sense of self-worth.
Oh, yes.
Like being like, I'm worthy of pleasure. I'm worthy of having fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you caught that. I remember a long time ago, I participated in a landmark forum. And they had a question that I thought was silly until I really examined it. And the question was, how good can you stand it? And I said, that's a silly question. Of course I could stand to have it good. And then I noticed at that point in time in my life, I couldn't stand for my life to be too good. When things started going good, I started looking for the shoe to drop. I started looking for something bad to happen, which means I wasn't holding myself accountable to my true potential. What is my true potential? To be happy and fulfilled every day. That's my true potential. So I wasn't holding myself accountable to what my desire was and what my desire is deep in myself, to be happy and be in harmony with myself every day. So if I'm holding myself accountable to that, when I wake up in the morning, my goal is to create that reality every day. And it's not going up against a stream. It's going with the stream. It just appears as if you got to go against the stream because the world, it seems like it's going in the opposite direction, but the world is not going in the opposite direction. The world is going into whatever direction you are sending it in. Now that's some deep thought right there. The world is going in any direction that you send it in.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, Mahdi, what you just said really resonated with me on a couple levels. I think, this idea of as soon as things are going good, the other shoe is going to drop. That's very connected to me culturally as being an Ashkenazi Jewish person. We have a phrase for it. we have a name for it. It's called kinahora. It's basically the evil eye, but it's like at all costs you have to avoid, things going well, because as soon as things going well, you get the evil eye and things start to go horrible.
Right.
So like as soon as things are going really well, just get ready because something horrible is about to happen. And that's the way I have gone through the vast majority of my life. And that's a hell of a way to go through life if you think about, a fear of things being good, an aversion to things being good because you're so programmed to think that something bad is about to happen.
Right. And you know what? I know I've lived like that most of my life too. And then, when I went through my training with my teacher and when he introduced to me that the whole entire universe is standing ready to assist you in whatever you desire. And I really wrapped my head around that. I'm like, wow. So everything is working in my favor. So for me to have a life that is full of pain requires me to ignore all the things in the universe that is working for me. What that means is the filter that I'm looking at life through, it's only causing me to use things in the improper manner. I'm misusing things rather than using them properly. Because like fear, doubt, depression, all those things have utility. They have a good purpose for existing because they are there to remind us of our desires that we left behind, so we go back and get them because we can't go forward without our desires. So, but there's nothing in the universe that's not working in our favor. It's just that the way we've been looking at the universe has caused us to not work in our favor. So it don't matter if everything in the universe is working in our favor. If you're not working in your favor, then it doesn't matter. And
then no wonder it's hard work.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I remember asking the client, I asked the question I was asked, what is the most difficult job or the easiest job for you to do in this world? And she said, breathe. And then she caught herself. She said, no, it's not breathing. It's being me. And then she says, damn, wait a minute. I struggle with being me every day. So I said to her, okay, so you struggle with being yourself. I said, is that real? Are you struggling with yourself or are you struggling with what people told you about yourself? And when she realized that she wasn't struggling with herself, she was struggling with the world that's taught her to believe about herself. That's the reason why we're being so much conflict with ourselves. We have taken on definitions of ourselves that puts us in direct conflict with how angelic we are, how divine we are. Everything that goes against you seeing yourself as a divine being will cause you to swim against the stream.
I just think there's a lot of great imagery, and I think the visualization of being accountable to yourself as you swimming downstream, swimming with the current, not fighting yourself, just accepting yourself. And most podcasts, most times I have these conversations, we get to the point where I think it's just so wild that the things that should be so natural to us have become something we have to get coaching for or therapy for, or have to get into a practice of,
like
right?
Being authentic.
like being authentic, like being in alignment with yourself, being accountable to yourself, you know, accepting that you're an infinite being. The fact that we have to go through these long processes to accept what would be natural just shows what a number this world has done on us.
Right.
You know?
And then the reality is, I like to correct that. It shows the number we've done on ourselves, because the world is us.
Right.
And because we keep saying it's them and they, we have not taken ownership of the fact that this is us. And when we take ownership of the fact that this is us, then us can create something else. See, the memory of the reality of how this all got created, it's in us. The world is really the inner world within us is being mirrored by the external world. When we transform how we are in relationship with our inner world, the outer world will have no choice but to transform, because it's mirroring what's inside the majority of us as the collective. In us, we are so steeped in fear that the world outside of us has to give it back to us. It has no choice. The matrix has no choice but to give back to us what is inside our inner matrix.
Yeah, because I always think about it like, and I hear you, I really do, and I feel that, and I know that my default still is that it starts external and then I internalize it. Like these are external messages, and then I start to believe those messages. But I think, you know, the step that you're talking about, which is, you know, I'm just as responsible and just connected to those external messages even before they would become what I would term as internal. That's a shift for me. That's a shift for me.
Right. What the thing is, let's say it was through subconscious programming from 0 to 7.
Right.
At whatever moment you wake up to the fact that the life you're living is not the life you wanted for yourself, it is then your responsibility to start creating another life. And then when you start creating another life for yourself, you discover what? The world looks exactly like the life you're creating for yourself. When you change your thinking, the world starts looking just like you're thinking. So when you start looking at yourself and thinking of yourself as being a beautiful human being that you appreciate and love, the world starts looking different. So we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we think it is. So whatever our thinking is what we are filtering life through. No one has ever seen the same thing because no one is ever thinking the same thing about themselves and about life. So that's why no matter how much equality work we do, no one is ever going to be treated the same by life. That's impossible. We all are treated different. That's the nature of life itself. We are all treated based upon the thinking that we are having about ourselves and the world. When you have a beautiful thinking mind, the world becomes beautiful.
What I'm hearing you say there is, I mean, true equity work is self-accountability work.
Yes. That's what justice is all about, right? On the scales, balance. You got to give justice to yourself for the world to give justice to you. If you're being unjust to yourself, then the world will reflect that injustice that you're acting on yourself. Injustice to yourself is ignoring what you desire, talking bad to yourself, having these conversations where you're constantly putting yourself down, finding things wrong with yourself. That's individual oppression. You're oppressing yourself. How do you want the world to give you justice if you're not giving you justice first?
Right.
Yes, I think that feels to me, I mean, Martina, if you agree with me, that feels like a good closing point for us, you know, because it really is the centerpiece of Soul Focus Group. It's not that we're denying that external oppression exists. It's just that if we feel helpless against it, then we're not being accountable to ourselves. And I know, Mahdi, you and I have been part of a movement in the past where, you know, external accountability was like held at the highest regard, but very little regard was given to, you know, accountability to self.
Right.
And what I hear you saying is that we're not going to actually be able to end external oppression until we're fully accountable to ourselves. That's really the practice or the work, or however you want to say it, as opposed to trying to be perfectly accountable externally to other people.
Right. And that doesn't mean that it's your fault that the world is like it is in terms of, I did something wrong, because we're all learning and this is a journey we're on. And we are programmed at the beginning. And so at the beginning, we are programmed before we wake up to who we are. Then when we wake up to who we are, now we are responsible for what we are and who we are. That requires us to be accountable to ourselves. One of the first things you discover is that you are a creator. So you have to be accountable to your desire to create and contribute. That's two of the greatest drives in us, because the ultimate human need is to significance, right? To demonstrate our significance in some way. And on the scale of significance, contribution and creating are the highest. Contribution. We all want to contribute something. And what we want to contribute is to making the world what we really want the world to be. A true reflection of who we really are.
Awesome. Well, man, Mahdi, I feel like I went to class. I feel like I went to spiritual class. This was beautiful. You talk about your teacher, and how integral your teacher was. And, you play that role for us too, very much, that you're exposing us to, generational knowledge, ancestral wisdom, that transcends, most of what we talk about and think about on a daily basis. So I'm very thankful for you for sharing with us and with all of our listeners.
Yeah, I'm thankful for you all appreciating the knowledge that's passed on. Next time we talk about seeing ghosts.
All right. All right, I'm gonna do the keyword search, seeing ghosts.
Yeah, I've seen ghosts.
I've seen
ghosts.
I know.
So it's supernatural. I've seen ghosts.
Yeah.
They've visited me, and I've talked to them, and I've had outer body experiences. A lot of stuff that we don't get a chance to talk about because we are so boxed in, oftentimes, with what the world will accept. But the reality is, we're living in a time now where all things will be open, like it or not. The seal has been broken.
I hear you. Well, we're definitely going to have to explore that.
Yeah. I want to thank you, Mahdi. I feel a renewed sense of excitement to find my joy and to stand my life, to stand it pretty good.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could stand to have it good.
And that's what accountability to self is.
That's what it will bring you to. Holding yourself accountable to what your truest potential will bring you to a life that's full of goodness while you live.
Awesome.
While you live.
Beautiful. All right, Mahdi. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank y'all.
We look forward to having you on again soon.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Martina.
Thanks, Mahdi. Be well.
All right, y'all too. Take care. When it comes to racism, the truth is most people are only reporting on the problem. They're not solving the problem. At the Human Solidarity Project, we are doing something to solve the problem. Through our Sending the Right Signal workshop, we are teaching organizations and businesses how to move beyond DEI work. Next, we are teaching organizations how to heal from the damage caused by racism. And finally, we're showing organizations how to create cultural integration and truly bring people together. Sign up for these 3 virtual workshops today at soulfocusgroup.com. Your organization will never be the same.
Man, I think that I'm gonna take a risk, Martina, and I'm gonna say that everybody that just listened enjoyed and was stimulated by, and mentally, emotionally, and spiritually enriched by that conversation that you and I had with Mahdi, as you and I were. I'm gonna go ahead and just take a shot in the dark and say I believe everybody that listened to that was as enthralled as you and I were.
Absolutely. There was so much I took away from our conversation with Mahdi, but I especially want to highlight a few things that I'm going to be sitting and thinking about and, learning from Cindy with my daily meditation, specifically when he said, Until the moment we die, we are creating our life. Like, wow, that is sticking with me, about the possibilities, about hope. Yeah, I'm going to be reflecting on that piece a lot.
Yeah, that when you believe that, I'm saying when instead of if, when you believe that, you realize how really powerful you are, right? Because that's a lot of power. And most of us walk through life thinking that we're powerless. So that is amazing. All right, what's the next one?
The next one was, he talked about that image of going upstream and really fighting the world. And the image that came to my mind, which was powerful for me, was, imagining the world is spinning, right? And me as an individual, I'm trying to stop the world from spinning that way. And I'm trying to start pushing it the other way. It's just like all that resistance I'm fighting, and like the relief, like I get this feeling of relief, just imagining being like, just stop. I'm going to stop pushing against the world. And I'm just like, how much easier it is. It's kind of like, going backwards up on the escalator or something, like just this silly idea of trying to push against what's already naturally flowing and working,
Right. And just think about like how much more you have, how much more energy you will have for all the other things in your life, for your family, for your relationships, for your work, if you're not constantly fighting with the world, which, as I heard Mahdi said, is really fighting with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to hear number 3.
I mean, something to me that also I'm going to be more in tune with is when he talked about when we have those moments of deja vu, it means we're on the right path. And so I think I'm going to be more in tune when I have deja vu, and to stop and reflect on what am I doing right now and what's the path that I'm on, and try to stay on that path.
That's awesome. Well, I thought a lot of it, I really liked what you captured. One thing that really stuck out to me is that many of the highest paid positions we have are for people to play. And then I was thinking even some of the other ones, like people that are CEOs and stuff like that, I think a lot of them even like look at it like a game. Investors in the stock market kind of look like it as a game, and try to play and have fun. So I'm even taking what he said to another level, but definitely thinking about athletes, entertainers, actors, musicians, rappers, just everybody is, a lot of the people that we hold up at the top of society financially, they're doing it because they're really good at playing. And that really stuck with me. There's a lot more, and I'm gonna go back and listen to it again for sure. This is one I think that will benefit from multiple listens.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I feel really good about the concept of that was shared with us today. Martinez, anything else you want to say before we close out for the day?
No, I liked what you said, and I encourage. I'm curious next time we check in for you to see also for us as a challenge, how can we make our work also about play and make it a game? And I'm trying to think about how I can channel that joy and that playfulness to my work.
I love that. Yeah, let's check in on that for sure. Let's you and I check in on that. We can check in when we're with Cindy too. Talk to her about it as well. So, well, thank you, Martina. This was awesome. I love the questions that you asked, and I love what you shared, especially around childbirth. That was powerful. So I really appreciated everything that you brought to this episode.
Likewise, Martin, it's always a pleasure to connect. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's always a pleasure to connect with each and every one of you. We are so excited that you're on this journey with us. We love you. We care about you. We want you to be soul focused. We want you to be accountable to yourself. We want you to be in alignment with yourself. We want you to be soul focused. So what we would say to you is make sure one more time, listen, like, subscribe, share, put us on your social media. Make sure that everybody in your circle is hearing what we're doing. We're excited about it. We have so many opportunities coming up. Stay tuned on soulfocusedgroup.com for brand new offerings, brand new opportunities, a brand new website. I know I've been saying that for a while, but it is really coming and it's going to be awesome. It's going to knock your socks off. So to everyone, we ask that you stay safe, you stay well, and most of all, you stay soul focused.